show up at right now and forward. Yoni Block is performing at 6:30ish. Come to all. Spring is free. As many people as possible. Thank you. Okay.
So what do we do? Give them a gift?
We're going to give away. We're here to give things away. So I know you've all been waiting for. You had your chocolate strawberries, which are delicious, are they not?
They were good. Come on.
Those were really good. We love those chocolate strawberries. And you know something? We're going to have some wine later. We're going to dip those chocolate strawberries in the wine.
Very nice.
It's going to be really nice. But then with some cheese, and on the tables you have some bamba. That's from Osem. Enjoy. It's a little bit calorie rich, but you know it's a special day. You can enjoy. And you all. Okay. You all want to win. Did I hear that everyone wants to win something? Yes, yes? Oh my gosh. Well, we have something special for you. So now you know you have to be in the room to win, right? That's the key here. Now we're going to give some stuff away, and let's see who's up on the board. Ira Ravitz.
Are you here?
Are you here? We want to see Ira. Okay, next. Nir Hanian. If you're here, raise your hand. Okay, next.
Come on down. He's here? Oh, he's here. Okay, we'll give him.
You look like you need some ahava, some men's ahava, a fine and beautiful kit. Gal Hoffman, are you here? Raise your hand if you're here. Next person is going to win a soda stream. Next? Ross Avner from Yahoo. Oh, Ross, you're an amazing winner of soda stream. The next person is going to get a power mat, which everybody needs. Who's next? Ariel Hazi.
I'm near. I heard that I won.
You won. Hey.
You won?
Ariel Hazi, are you here? It's a power mat going once, twice, and let's go to the next. Ophir.
Ophir.
Oh. Yechnis. Is Ophir here? Next. Errol Ginsberg, a famous poet. Next.
We have down here, someone here.
Oh, who is it? You won a power mat. Congratulations. Kobe Levy. Kobe Levy going once, twice. Next is Bruce Webb is for Ahava. Yay, Bruce. And one more. One more soda stream. Kobe Levy, what did we say you're going to get? What would you like? You're going to get a power mat. All right, excellent. And David Felsen is up for Ahava. David Felsen. Okay, let's we'll resume now. How many of you want that bicycle? Yeah? Okay. So the bicycle at 5:45, we're going to auction that off, and you know it's a high-end magnesium bicycle. That magnesium is from a very special place. It's from a country we all love. What is that country called? Israel, and it's from the Dead Sea. And so you're going to be riding a magnesium bicycle made from salts of the Dead Sea, and you'll be lickety-split as you go into your next marathon. Speaking of marathons, today has been a wonderful one. Thank you, Jeff Pulver, the man behind VOIP, and I'm Sharona Justman, for those of you who have just come in. I'm the co-chair of the conference along with the wonderful Yossi Vardi, and this is our third year, and we're having a wonderful time with over 600 participants, 60 speakers, a ton of folks in the pavilion. For our afternoon chat, we're going to have some very interesting discussion about the nature of the music business and IP. And we're blessed and fortunate to have a really strong knowledge base on the panel. We're starting with Yossi Vardi, who's always a wonderful discussant. We also have David Renzer, the former chairman and CEO of Universal Music Publishing. Worldwide, one of the largest music publishing company in the world. And we have David Rind, who is the head of all IP for Universal Music.
No, try again. Give it to him. Try again, David Rind.
David Rind is the executive vice president for Biz Dev and Business Affairs of Universal Music Publishing Group and E-Labs. So any of you have some ideas of companies you're developing, creating, or want to bring it forward, David Rind is the man to see. And we also have the effervescent Isabel Maxwell, who is the founder of Magellan, one of the original search engines. And we're going to have a great discussion on IP music and where it's going. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Yossi Vardi. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Sharona. I would like the people in the audience, anybody who understands how the music industry works and how you get your digital music, raise your hand. Okay, David and David, we have here very intelligent people. Nobody understands what you guys are doing. You now go and explain to us, when a kid writes a music, a song, how we get it through the Apple, how the money, the payment is being divided, and why all the money is staying with the record companies and the kid get nothing, and why you lose so much money. Go ahead.
Great. That was a terrific intro.
Great intro.
Well, so I'll try and back up. You kind of started the discussion of sort of the food chain, right? Of a piece of music is created, what happens? So a band goes in a garage and writes a song, or a songwriter composes a song. Right there, something's been created, right? You've created a copyright, and there's a separate copyright in the song, and then there's a copyright in the recording of that song. So there's actually two different rights and two different sets of copyrights that you need to secure rights to with whatever you want to do, whether you want to put out a record, it's played on the radio, it's in a film. However music is going to be used, there are those two separate copyrights that need to be addressed. So let's take that example, right? The band writes a song in their garage.
Give a name to the band, imaginary name.
The Supertex.
The Supertex. And what
Yeah.
is the song they wrote? Give a name.
I want to be a multi-billionaire.
I want to be the man. And can you hum the music a little
No,
bit?
definitely
Just a
not.
sample. Just a little bit.
Definitely not.
Anybody would like to suggest the music for I Want to Be a Billionaire by the Supertex?
I want to be a multi-billionaire.
Good.
Okay. So they've written that song, and Jimmy Iovine hears them performing in a club on Sunset Boulevard and says, "Man, you guys are great. I want to sign you to a record deal." And they say, "Well, talk to our lawyer." And their lawyer
All the lawyers
starts a
in the
bidding
crowd,
war.
can you raise your hands?
All the lawyers.
Nobody dares. You see, they are all
David's a
ashamed.
lawyer. So their lawyer starts a bidding war, and there are fewer companies bidding these days, but there still are a few. They end up getting negotiated. They get a record deal, which now, and David can talk to this, now it's not just a record deal, because there aren't any more record companies. There are music companies. And you negotiate now what's called the 360 deal, which maybe, David, why don't you talk about that? What is that now?
What is the
what is a
360
360 deal?
Well, it's literally just a moniker for a whole variety of, a description for a whole variety of types of deals where the record company can participate in a number of artist career revenue opportunities. I'm getting a bunch of feedback from the mic. I don't know if it's turned up too loud or not, but so if you take an artist from the garage, in this case, in the example of the Supertex, and now 3 years later, Supertex are a worldwide phenomenon. In the case of, let's say, for example, an Eminem or a Lady Gaga, today's example, also both are Universal Music artists. And they now have lucrative movie careers, national advertising careers, etc. A 360 deal is just a way of describing a variation where the record company may participate in some portion of movies, merchandise, other things that the artist may do, in part because the record company was able to promote that artist or help promote that artist to achieve some degree of success, so that they were able to achieve opportunities in other areas where a traditional record deal wouldn't traditionally let a record company participate in those revenues. So, you know, when anybody ever mentions a 360 deal, it's really just kind of, in my way of thinking, kind of nonsense, because there is no such thing as one deal that looks the same. It's just a way of describing participation in a variety of other businesses that the artists derive revenue from, concerts, for example, or merchandise in particular, and concerts.
And so that,
Okay,
that
so
group
now-
gets signed to this multi-rights deal right now. That's what the record companies are looking to do. And then there's a music publishing deal to be done. And artists have different ways of handling their music rights. But let's assume they do a music publishing deal and they do this 360 deal. And they then have this piece of product, right? So the Supertechs have finished their album. They've hired the hottest producer in the business. They've gone into the studio and they've finished this piece of product, and then they're going to release that piece of product. Well, every time that piece of product is going to be played on the radio, you know, there's a radio promotion team. There's a music publisher that licenses those rights and collects money from ASCAP, BMI, CSAC. If you want to put that song into a film, and that's part of what hopefully the companies are doing, is promoting that work and getting it placed into a film, and there's a license for that called a synchronization license. If it's going to be in a commercial and you want to do, and I think we talked about branding, but that's part of the game here, is you want to create as many of those eyeball opportunities for an artist. But every single one of those hopefully also involves a revenue stream that is to be licensed. And then, of course, there's the whole digital strategy, which you know, David can really talk to, but there's a whole series of licenses and entities that are not only selling digital content, but there are different opportunities that are marketing opportunities for content. And in some cases, like we have now with Lady Gaga's new album, where she actually went to Silicon Valley and actually, you know, made a deal for a game, you know, which is a kind of a unique situation where an artist has that much power in the market, where she's supported by the tech companies because of the power of her brand. But that's all, you know, for that deal. If there's using her music, they're still negotiating for, you know, her artist rights, her recording rights, her music publishing rights.
I must tell you, it sounds to me that this industry was invented by lawyers. This is why you have so many rights: music rights, artist rights, record rights. Nothing is right. I'm telling you.
And by the end of it,
well,
it's
not getting any simpler because the business continues to fragment. That's really what's happening. It used to be a lot simpler. You know, it used to be
you had a record, and
you had a record, got it on MTV. You know, it used to be a lot simpler. The business is really fragmenting and continues to fragment. The revenue streams are fragmenting. Makes, yes, more lawyers, more rights that are being negotiated, and tougher for all of us to monetize. You know, to collect, you know, microtransactions, administer those, collect those, etc. So that's a big challenge, and the lawyers are definitely keeping busy.
if you're not Lady Gaga and you're just a new artist, it seems to me that it's so fragmented that by the time he gets or she gets his little bit at the end of it, it's minute compared with the big stuff that it starts out at. There's a lot of perception about that, but perhaps as consumers we're interested now when we go to our iTunes or something, and as you say, where is all the music kept in the world? It's in, now we hear it, the cloud, the iClouds, the eClouds, and many alphabets in between. So I'm just curious how you find the cloud these days.
David,
Is
you
it
wanna
rainy
talk about
or
the cloud?
sunny?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
David, how the digital part of it works?
Okay, so yeah, the cloud. The cloud. Everybody here is, I think, a tech person, right? I mean, this is a tech group, right?
Some
No?
of us.
Some? Okay, most people know that there's no such thing as a cloud. It's just a hard drive in the sky. It's a hard drive that you used to have on your desk, and now it's in the sky. It's been in the sky for a long time. We've been using it. Probably you don't even realize it. You've been using it on your corporate email. You've been using it for many, many years. It's a wonderful thing. I remember trying to explain, how many in the room have used something like Snapfish or Kodak Easy Share, you know, Ophoto, it used to be called Ophoto, or any of those. So if you upload your photos to this, then you can download the app. or you didn't even have to. Before there were apps or smartphones, you could just upload your photos and then order printed photos. Just raise your hands, please, if you've ever used that, okay? And any of you who thought you didn't know what the cloud was, that's not true. That was a cloud service. And so when I tried to explain that to people who couldn't understand in my company what the cloud was, they finally, the cloud delivered them prints for photos. And that's what happened, right? That was the cloud. So that was how I got through to people who didn't quite understand what was going on, what the cloud was. It was just simply remote storage, and somebody gave it a fancy name, and Microsoft finally came up with a catchy commercial, which is really true. The first time Microsoft ever came up with a commercial that stuck in my head. So now what we have is a plethora of new devices, and it's the first time I think people are really starting to have multiple computers, people, not just early adopters, but an iPhone or an iPad or a smartphone and a tablet or a smartphone and a laptop and maybe a home computer or a work computer. So you may actually find that non-early adopters have multiple devices where they're storing content. And it doesn't necessarily have to be music. It could just be photos. But what a pain to manage that content. It doesn't matter whether it's just music or whether it's just your photos. And I think it's going to be very straightforward when everybody is trying to manage just their photos. If you just have photos of your kids with the mainstreaming, probably 10 years ago or 7 or 8 years ago, I may have got the timing a little bit off here, but of digital photography, I don't know how many people have more than 10,000 photos in their photo libraries, but it's not that hard to get 10,000 photos because you just click and click. Well, very hard to manage that. But once you have remote storage, what people are calling the cloud, and you can manage it in one place, deliver it to all of your devices at the same time, or deliver some of them, or put them in folders and have your folders sent to each of your devices or to some of your devices, but managed centrally, backed up remotely to one or more, you don't even have to, they'll remotely back it up to other colo facilities. Now what you have is you have insurance essentially for the backup. You don't have to worry about have you printed it or have you not printed it. And you have it manageable in your life to multiple devices you carry with you, devices you don't carry with you, like a basic home PC or a work PC. And so I think the cloud's going to be great for consumer services and for consumer experiences. Why is that so important? I mean, it seems obvious. It should be obvious to all of us. When the consumers are having better experiences with their digital content, music in our case is very important. Obviously, it's the most important thing for us, but if you think about it just generally, a good consumer music experience is going to drive people to consume more digital goods. That should be good for the music business. So when they're consuming more digital music, because the digital management of that digital music is a good experience, that's what we're hoping for. Do I think people will, pay gobs of money, fortunes of money for digital locker experiences? Probably not. Is there some marginal value to, or some slight additional value that people might pay money for locker services? Yeah, I think so. I think it's worth doing. Do I think people will actually buy more digital goods or buy access to digital services that are managed successfully and create great experiences for consumers because they're managed this way? Yes, I do. So I think that's what the cloud is all about. It's about great consumer experiences or improving the consumer experience that currently exists, which is really lousy. You should not have to plug in cables anymore. I mean, this whole cable plugging in business with all the different devices you have is ridiculously old technology.
So David, do you think it's going to really drive revenue in a significant way, the growth of these cloud services?
It should begin to drive revenue. How much revenue and how significant, it remains to be seen.
What is the size of the music industry nowadays as compared to, let's say, 2000?
Oh, I don't want to, there's a lot of people that write about the size of the industry and so forth and so on. I don't want to
give a number.
Speculate. I don't want to speculate.
73% of all data cited in conferences are invented on the spot.
Okay. That's a good stat. I like that stat. I like that stat. I want to be part of the other part of the other percent.
I think I read recently that just the music publishing segment is probably about a $7 to $8 billion business worldwide.
And how much it was, let's say,
If
10 years ago?
if you think about it, it's not too hard to get there. In the U.S. alone, you've got ASCAP and BMI, each who collect a gross performance income of almost $1 billion each, right? So there's almost $2 billion right there. You know, you add the majors in there. So that
So
sounds like it's very
does it
feasible.
does it
But
make
then
sense?
that's just the publishing side, and then you've
On the
got the
recorded
recorded side. You've got a $10 billion industry still? Or?
I'll tell you this. We're probably, I don't know, this is a rough guess. We're probably a third, we're probably a third the size we were in terms of our workforce. I mean, and I would be, I wouldn't be surprised, this is complete guesswork, but I wouldn't be surprised if our revenues are down 40%.
So the whole music
their peaks.
industry
From the peaks,
with
from
the
their
rights
peaks.
and the record
From their
rights
peaks.
and the publishing and the 360 and et cetera, all of it together is about 25% of the value of Facebook.
Well, we've been hit with so many challenges. It's almost impossible to describe with the time we have the massive challenges that we've been hit with. I mean, it's an incredible story what has happened. It's not just massive piracy, unlike anyone's ever seen, ever. It's not just that. It's a complete transformation of the entire model of the business. We were selling, went from a business that, albeit an anomaly for a number of years, this CD business, which was an anomaly of itself for a number of years, but it was essentially a $10 to $12 wholesale business with selling plastic discs at a $10 to $12 wholesale price. And then we went from doing that to selling in the legitimate marketplace something like an 80-cent single unit business in the legitimate marketplace. Just that alone, if you just took that and there was zero piracy, would be a devastating transformation to try to go through. And then put on top of that 3 billion files being stolen every month on file sharing and massive physical piracy and sneaker nets going on. And then, to your point earlier, the cost of production going down. And so millions of low cost and easy to produce records, flooding them with lots of great indie music and small bands. And so tons of great music being produced. I mean, people say there's no great music being produced. I mean, that's a complete lie. The music out there is phenomenal. So you have to still spend tons of money to break through all the noise. The record companies are spending money, hand over fist, to try to make sure that they're staying on top and chasing market share and doing all kinds of things to break acts where it's harder and harder and harder to do so.
So it's a risk of saying something
It's now
racy.
become the TV business, by the way, right?
Well,
I mean,
no.
that's really, if you think about it, that's what's driving a lot. You've got American Idol, and you've got some of the appetite for music is still huge. Music on TV
Right.
is huge. You've got two of the highest rated shows on major network TV in the U.S. are music-based.
Right.
The appetite for music is still
Oh,
there.
it's absolutely
But
right.
at the risk of
it's
saying
no-
something racy, if you look at the porn industry, where it's a giant industry with huge revenues, and you have huge amounts of free porn, and yet there's paid porn everywhere. So I'm just curious if there's any parallels here for the
I know
music
Do
nothing
you want
about
to
that.
elaborate
I'm
on
sorry.
the porn industry?
My wife is
I'll take
sitting
that
right
one.
here. I know nothing about the
No,
porn
I'll
industry.
take that
I
one.
gotta just levitate this a bit, guys.
I'll take
Come on.
that one. I'll take that one. The porn industry.
He's an expert, actually.
I'm actually.
Do you have a user experience or a producer experience?
I actually, the porn industry is actually in really deep trouble. They have a really significant problem. Because in the music business, we're fortunate because we can experiment with a variety of different business models if we're smart. And sometimes we're not as smart as I wish we were, frankly. Because sometimes it's hard to make really bold decisions that, you have to take really big risks sometimes. And, sometimes that means you might have to cannibalize revenue streams that are certain and solid and coming in, and you have to take risks. And ad-supported business models, for example, are really tough in the music business because they don't bring in a lot of money because there's not a lot of advertising dollars yet. that you can bring in to support what artists really need to make and what record companies need to make in order to pay for the cost of doing business. Now, of course, our costs of doing business have to come down, and they will, but they haven't yet. So advertising-supported businesses in the music business have not matured yet, but they are possible future businesses or part of future business models. Our Vivo business right now in the video side is doing pretty well with ad support. On the audio side, it's a very slow-moving business, and it may not work. Audio ad-supported businesses may not work online for a while. But in porn, they don't have that choice because there's not a lot of advertisers except other porn sites that want to advertise on porn. So if you think about it, their choices are narrower. So they're actually suffering tremendously online. So I kind of think, when I try to see the glass, I look at it as half full because at least we're not the porn industry.
David.
Yep.
Now we see Apple succeed in selling music, right?
Well, Apple's not really in the business of selling music. They're really in the business of selling hardware.
Okay.
And they've really succeeded in selling hardware. They, as David said earlier, their model, which, their model was changing a whole generation of music consumers to singles buyers. While, there's some albums sold, but that shift was actually not a great shift for the industry, but they sold an awful lot of iPads.
But it creates for you a new revenue stream,
devices.
which
It created a legitimate digital marketplace, and now there's others, and yes, that's right.
I would like to ask David something, if I may. How a song is being accepted? How a song is getting successful? What make song popular?
It's a great question.
How it's being propagated?
Well, propagated is different. I mean, a great song is a great song. A great recording is a great recording. That's a zeitgeist question. That's a question for
but isn't
the popular.
It the word of music, the word of mouth of the users?
Word of mouth is key. It's never been more important than ever. I'll say a word about.
So the users are doing the job.
Yeah, I'll say a word about
What
that.
do you pay them?
Yeah, I'll say a word about that.
What do you pay them? When they take it, you say they're stealing.
No,
so let's agree that the pirates are your customers. Or your customers are the pirates.
There are sites.
Or that you are abusing the customer, they are distributing the music.
There are sites
you
that
give them
track,
nothing.
that track the most, which are the songs that are the most frequently illegal. There's a chart.
Who think that
There's the
if
top
a
10
guy,
of the most illegally distributed songs.
Who think
which
if
is
a guy
interesting to
tells his
look
friend that this song is great, he should be compensated for promoting the song?
Wait, can you say that again? I lost.
I say it again. I will say it again. You say that the word of mouth is critical.
Yeah.
When I'm telling my friend that this song is great,
You can tell your friend the song
I'm
is great.
promoting your song.
Yeah, tell them all you want.
Why do you want to get a free, you are abusing the customers.
No.
You are not paying them for promoting your song.
Wait. Oh, you mean pay you for telling them?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, that's a good idea. I like that idea.
Good.
So here we had
So
we actually have had business models like this. I actually supported a business model like this. It was a company called Pass Along, and there's been a couple other companies like this. It's similar to a multi-level marketing type idea, and you get credits and points towards download points for recommending and referring other
affiliate.
people. It's an affiliate program, and I think it's a great idea.
Oh, so give them a free music. You know,
Yeah, you can get free. You can get
instead of them stealing it, give it free.
Yeah, it's a very good idea. We've tried these models, not we, but we have supported companies who have tried these models before. I think they are workable in the right context, and I think it's a good idea. You get, you refer a few friends. It's like signing up, if you refer a friend to DirecTV, you get, $50 off of whatever. These are very good models for rewards programs for referring and promoting. Very good ideas.
I have a question to the audience. I get signals that the time is over. Who think we should terminate the discussion now? Who think we should continue?
You want to open it up to questions?
Do we have time for questions?
Time for questions, and then we have so much good stuff happening now.
No, before we mention, I want to say something. David, this is an Israel conference. The better part of David Renzer is sitting over there. Esther, why don't you stand up for half a minute? Esther, can you tell us what, no, stand up. Can you tell us what you are doing for Israel?
Well, everyone here is hearing all the positive stories about Israel and all the great innovation coming out of Israel. What the world is hearing out there, and particularly on campuses, is that Israel is the worst place imaginable. My organization is called Stand With Us, and we are... And we are 10 years old this week. Stand With Us. And we have offices around the world. We have 14 offices telling Israel's side of the story to the world, so that when people think about Israel, they're not just thinking about the misconceptions that the media and others are putting out there, the anti-Israel movement, about occupation and apartheid and labels that are sticking, but they know the facts about the beautiful country, the wonderful country that Israel is, that seeks peace. And they're hearing these stories as well. And something that we're doing with a creative community, which David could talk about, is a new organization that we're working with, and to end the boycotting of artists, creative artists going to Israel. And that's something that David is working on and that we're supporting. So maybe David wants to talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, we're about to launch officially an organization called Creative Community for Peace. There's a gorgeous website that is just about completed, and we've got support from artists and from executives in the film, TV, and music industry, and it's an international coalition we've put together of execs in LA, New York, the UK, and Israel. And I'll throw it out there here, which I think would be great to have a tech component of the Creative Community for Peace, especially people involved with tech sites that are overlapping with content, with creative content. So if anyone here wants to stand up and join us and kind of help champion our efforts in the tech community, I would love to talk to you guys afterwards.
So you see that even evil guy like David Renzer, who take money from little kids for music, is being redeemed because of his wife. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you, David. Take you on a little tour to one of Israel's, talking about something positive about Israel, is everything we're doing here is positive about Israel. And why? Because when you leave today, for however many hours you've been here, I know it's been a long day so far for all of you, but we've got some really exciting stuff happening. You're going to walk out of here saying, I know what to talk about. I actually have knowledge that's specific about what's happening in Israel and what the companies are. And I'd like to bring up a company that you've probably heard about and wouldn't think necessarily that it's fast and cool, but it's Netaphim. How many of you have heard of Netaphim before? It's an innovator in drip irrigation that's changing the way the world is fed. It's changing the carbon footprint of the world, and we're very fortunate to have Irvin Leibovici, the head of developed countries, and Netaphim is found in every single country in the world, and I'm going to turn it over to Irvin Leibovici to tell us all about Netaphim. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. So my name is Irvin. We still have a crowd here, which is great. Yes, so I am representing here a company called Netaphim that I'm pleased to see that a lot of you have heard about. We are surely not a startup, at least in the normal sense. But then you may discover in a couple of slides that maybe in another sense we are a startup. We've been in business since decades. We've pioneered and invented something called drip irrigation, which you may actually have in your backyard. I don't know that any of you is a farmer, so I don't think there's any danger there. So let me go right into this. Oh. Okay, so what are we doing? What is our business? So the problem that we're addressing is sort of a very different problem. It's not really internet and it's not really mobile. It is, we're addressing the issue that we need to double the food production for the planet in the next about 30 years. And the reason that this is a problem for all of us, and it's a real problem, is because population is expected to grow by about 50%, 50, to just over 9 billion people. We are just under 7 right now. And the second reason that I'm sure you're aware of, there's a lot of movement towards higher and higher standard of living. And just a quick example, as you may, in China, there's about 350 million people that are expected to move from rural to cities, and they're going to consume much more food, much more everything. And one interesting data point that I found out, if you're consuming beef, if you like steaks, 1 kilogram of beef requires 15,000 liters of water. So there's, every time you say humanity needs more food, means you need more resources. And in fact, okay, can you go to the next slide? In fact, the main constraints that we see as we go about doubling our food production is water, energy, and land to produce that food. And on water, we know very much that there is a shortage out there, there's limited supply, and there is a cost of production which is associated to increasing water production. Now, we are all investing quite a bit of effort into finding and developing new technologies like desalination. However, there is a cost associated with it. There's a big energy requirement to desalinate water. And no matter what we do, if we can do the same produce, food produce, with less water, we're better off. The second one, which we're really busy finding solutions for, is energy. And we in Israel do a lot of work on energy from new sources. And new sources could be solar, could be wind. Again, a lot of progress being made there, but no way near to what's needed in order to achieve our doubling food target. And lastly, we need land. And you know what? On land, we don't have any solution. Unless somebody here can bring up the good news that we broke a way to grow our food on the moon or on Mars, which I don't think we found that way yet. Then we have limited supply. We don't have really any immediate plan to grow our arable land, and this is a major issue. So, if you can, now, as far as water, just to take one example, if you look at the planet, most of the planet is covered with water. However, a very tiny piece of it, portion of it, less than 3%, is what's available for us to use. And if you look at how it is used, it's amazing. It was amazing for me to find out that 70% of it is used for agriculture. So 70% of the water that is available for us humans to use is used for agriculture. And it's even more amazing that almost 90% of that water is used to do agriculture based on a technology that was invented about 2 millenniums ago by the Incas down in Peru, if you guys, if you've been there. So very old technology. Now, what do we do at Netaphim in order to help with this problem of doubling the food? So first of all, we pioneered a long time ago, something which is called drip irrigation, which is really precise irrigation. It's about treating the crops, treating the plants in the same way we treat ourselves as human beings. So we know very well that if we get our food and our water at the right time, in the right amount, we're going to do much better, right? If the environment is going to be, if it's going to be air conditioned, it's going to be the right temperature, the right moisture level, we're going to be doing great. So we came up with this idea that we're going to do the same thing for the plants. So instead of flooding them with all this water, we're going to build a delivery system, which is really what we've done, which is going to be targeted at the mouth of the plant, which happens to be the root. And through that delivery system, we're going to provide the exact amount of water that the plant needs, when it needs it, the exact amount of food, which is nutrients in the case of plants, and the exact amount of medicine, which is protection, which in the case of crops, it's called chemicals. So you're going to use that delivery system to create the best conditions for the crops to grow. And the net result is, what it says here, is that we're able, in specific crops, to get better results by 50%, 60%, 30%, sometimes 2 or 3x, depending on the crop, with a small amount of water and a small amount of nutrients. So we're able to really optimize the utilization of the planet resources to produce more food, which is what this whole thing started. So if you look at it, this is the 88%, which is agriculture today. So 88% of the agriculture is done today using flood. So we really flood the field with water and nutrients. And the new, if you go to the next slide, and this is the new way. And if you look at it, down below there, it's on the right-hand side. This is actually, I think, a potato field. So you can see these little spots. So we really give the sufficient amount of water to each individual plant. So it's like, as I said, get what the plant needs straight to its roots. Next slide. Well, I think maybe the big difference between Netaphim and the other companies that are presented here today is that, we always say that need is the mother of all invention. Now, arguably, iPhone is a need. Arguably, internet is a need. But there's different needs. And I kind of distinguish between comfort need and really essential need. And I would argue that food is a real basic and essential need. And if you look at, not to say anything negative against the world that I myself have been a party to just until very recently, humanity got so far, without internet and without mobile phones, which is sort of almost a miracle. Yet, we really needed food to get here, and we're probably going to need food for the next millenniums. So when we started in Israel, before even the establishment of the State of Israel, this is how, you see the picture down below there, this is how it looked. And the way we ended up today, if you can go to the next slide, this is what's called the Arava. For those of you who know Israel, if you drive south to the desert, this is how a desert looks like. And it produces enough food for all of Israel, and actually 65% of what we produce there goes to Europe and to other countries. And if you look at the chart, interestingly enough, we've been able, with the same amount of water, which is the blue line, increase the yield over the past 20 years, in general, by the whole industry, very, very significantly. And if you go to the next click, the way we look at it is technology, the way we call it is technology out of necessity. So that's it. We have a little table outside. If you have any questions about irrigation, please come along. Thank you very much.